Largest state budget in state history is now law. Doesn't start until July 1st, but it spends nearly all of the $46.7 million that state lawmakers anticipate in getting from you, the taxpayer. And it also includes about $1.8 billion in tax cuts, mostly temporary cuts. Other things this budget includes, the governor signed yesterday. You've got pay raises for legislators, increased spending on education, K through 12, higher education, increased spending on police and infrastructure projects, a whole host of different types of community-based programming that's funded in this budget. It also has $1 billion set aside for the rainy day fund, $500 million extra on top of what the state's already paying. It's about $9 billion plus $500 million there for the pensions, and pays down some of the group health bills and a variety of other things. So a large, vast spending plan. But there's obviously some criticism with not just how this plan came together in the final 3 days of session, and even the final version of it not actually being ready to go until moments before it was actually passed. But we're going to hear from a variety of different voices from yesterday. And it's interesting to kind of unpack this a bit so that you better understand how your tax dollars are being spent. But it's what we're trying to do here each and every morning with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for hanging out at 641. You can always chime in live and local, 217-629-7970. That's the phone number here for Springfield's Morning News. But when it comes to the budget, it's not just one bill. There were actually 3 bills altogether. One was the appropriations plan, which spells out how much money they plan on spending. The other is a budget implementation measure that is required to ensure that certain dollars get shifted from certain funds where they need to go. And then there's a third bill. It's the taxing part of the overall budget for the coming fiscal year. And that included a variety of things. So you've got the tax rebates when it comes to property and income. You're going to get up to $300 property tax rebate. There's going to be income tax rebates for you as an individual. And if you have kids, I believe up to 3 children, you'll get rebates on. And then there's also tax credits for low income. There's tax credits for earned income. There's tax credits for teachers. There's tax credits for microchip manufacturers. And they extend the EDGE tax credit. It's an employer's tax credit that gives credits for the number of employees they're able to keep on. So they extended that. So a whole host of different things in there. But you've also got the controversial issue of the gas tax. And in particular, a sticker that is going to be required for gas stations to put on their gas pumps. We'll hear more about that in a moment, but the variety of voices you're going to hear right now are Governor J.B. Pritzker. You've got Jesse Sullivan, a Republican vying for the governor's office. He joined us yesterday. You'll hear him again. Also, you'll hear Illinois Policy Institute's Adam Schuster. And more with this review of the spending plan, the largest spending plan in state history, signed yesterday by Governor J.B. Pritzker. Here are some of those voices.
Our state is in its strongest fiscal position in generations. And as a result, we are able to provide $1.8 billion in tax relief for our residents. Investments in stronger schools, modernized airports and newly paved highways, hundreds of thousands of well-paying infrastructure jobs, a better funded pension system. These are just some of the kind of priorities that we can invest in when our state is governed responsibly.
He wants to buy the election on TV with these commercials trying to convince us he's fixed anything. He went to the federal government for nearly $200 billion that we received. That is such a missed opportunity. We could have actually done structural reform in the state of Illinois. Instead, we've just, kicked the can down the road. It's all patronage and corruption in the state of Illinois, and that continues under J.B. Pritzker.
A statement released by Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin said that ultimately it's a high spending budget and the temporary tax reductions won't really help much, and that also criticized the ability for ComEd to continue to raise electric rates. and says that it'll ultimately mean more tax increases down the line. Again, that's just a little overview of a statement that
And we
Richard
put an extra
Irvin put
$500
out.
million
Here's the governor
into
again.
our pensions, saving taxpayers nearly $2 billion in future interest payments, and to make sure retirees get what they are owed. Balancing the budget allows us to save for the future and live up to our financial obligations. On all of these things, the only members of the General Assembly who voted to kick the can down the road and to stick you and your children with the bill were the Republicans, who voted against it, who seem to prefer spelunking for misery over offering real solutions.
So Governor Pritzker is putting an additional $500 million between last year's budget and this year's budget towards the state pension system, but he's done nothing to actually reform the pension system. So throwing more money at a black hole of debt is not the way to solve Illinois' pension crisis. Illinois already spends more than any other state in the country on pensions, about double the national average. This year, for example, more than 25% of every tax dollar that Illinoisans send to their state government will go directly to the pension crisis. So we spend too much on pensions already. And the way to bring down the debt is with structural reforms that will make pensions less burdensome on the budget, not more burdensome.
So last voice there was Adam Schuster with the Illinois Policy Institute, giving you a bit of a rounded take there on the budget. A lot of spending on things that I think everybody can agree are good, but at what levels? Are they appropriate levels? And when it comes to, for instance, as Adam Schuster pointed out there, the pension situation. Yeah, we're giving $500 million more for pensions, but are the pension systems the way they should be to be, not diverting a lot more money away from other programs? I mean, because that's $500 million extra that could have gone to other programs if the pensions were, as some argue, and Illinois Policy Institute's one that does, to change the pension protection clause to allow for a diminishment of benefits to a degree. So obviously that's a conversation has not advanced at all at the State House, but what has advanced is more spending on pensions above and beyond what the state already does. So that's kind of the budget side. Let's talk about the tax side. Yesterday, part of the budget ceremony, the governor signed the tax portion of this package. And you'll hear here from State Representative Mike Zaleski, also the Illinois Fuel and Retail Association's Josh Sharp, which says they're going to sue. And State Senator L.G. Sims, followed by Senate Minority Leader Dan McConkey, talking about the taxing portion of the state budget that Governor J.B. Pritzker signed yesterday. Here they are.
We were able to help people at the grocery store. We were able to help people at the gas pump. We were able to help teachers who go out of their way to purchase school supplies for their kids every year. This is a budget, and this is a tax code we can be proud of. A tax code where everybody who needs the help right now gets it. This is inflation relief. This is something that we should all be proud of. I'd like to thank all my colleagues who supported it. I would like to salute the governor and the lieutenant governor for their support throughout, for letting lawmakers do the job of the people. I'm incredibly proud of the work we did here today.
It's unfortunate with the governor's signature today on that piece of legislation that it now becomes law. Our board of directors met today and unanimously approved moving forward with a lawsuit against the state to prevent that signage language from going into effect. Speech. There's signs on the gas pumps that talk about fire safety or octane ratings, and I think there's very good reason for those signs. But the speech that we're talking about here is of a different sort. This is a political speech. This is telling people about a tax cut, and to us, again, forcing retailers to post those signs under the threat of fines or penalty is unconstitutional.
Now, there are some who will tell you that there are political games in play. Well, the only political games in play are those who vote for the tax cuts but won't vote for the investments. There are those who are standing on the sideline talking about crime is increasing, but they are the ones who are the only ones voting to defund police. They didn't vote for additional investments in creating public safety initiatives that will truly make our communities safer.
of course, we supported, giving people back some of their own money, but the idea that then we don't support the police and things like that is just, ridiculous. They're requiring that gas station owners actually pat the Democrats on the back by putting signs on the pumps and on your receipts to say, "Hey, we're saving you money," right? They can't even advertise that themselves. And then this is going to expire right after the election. In fact, next year, under the Democrats' plan, you're going to see two inflation based increases on the motor vehicle fuel tax on gasoline next year. Once January 1st and then again on July 1st of next year. That's not providing real relief for taxpayers.
So that again is the tax portion of the budget that the governor signed yesterday. There's going to be so much more to unpack because it also had federal dollars for hotels and restaurants and hospitals. It had more funding for local governments and the like. So a lot more to unpack of that $46.5 billion spending plan. And that's just the state side. We haven't even talked about all the federal dollars that the state always gets every year. And altogether, it's like a $115 billion spending plan for the state of Illinois when you include all the federal funds. So hopefully that was educational for you to hear kind of a well-rounded approach to the approval of the budget. Democrats supported the spending plan. Republicans did not, but there was bipartisan support for the temporary tax cuts, though Republicans had fought for permanent tax cuts, not just 1 year, one-time fixes there. All right, so that's the latest review of Illinois' state budget here with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg.